Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension Season 5, activating Starseeds, walk-ins, and the new human of the Golden Age. I'm your host, Washela Sananda, and today it's my pleasure to introduce you to Brandon Bozarth. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited.
I'm so happy to have you today. And I'm excited to share all about what you're up to in the world with everyone. But first, I'd like to invite everyone to join us in a short alignment process so we can all get focused and present and ready for this information that is going to be shared today. So I just invite everyone, if you're in a safe place, to close your eyes. Go ahead and close your eyes, deepening the breath into the belly. And as you're breathing, bring your awareness into your heart center, making contact with the light in your heart. And then feel that heart light expanding and growing out around your chest and around your body. And now extend your awareness up into central sun, finding the heart light of central sun. And bring that light down into the crown of your head, moving down your spine, lighting up every energy center. And then continue your awareness down into the center of Mother Earth, finding the heart light of the Mother Earth. And then bring that heart light, the center of the earth, up into the base of your spine, up into every energy center of your body. And now join those three energies, the heart light from above, below, and within, creating a holy trinity of light, bringing more focus, presence, harmony, balance, and awareness. And feel that centeredness with one more deep breath. And then come on back, and thank you for joining me in that. And now I'll share about what Brandon's been up to. Brandon Bozarth is a spiritual teacher, channel, and transformational facilitator. He's worked with A-list celebrities, leads and co-leads retreats and workshops in over 4 different countries, and has worked with thousands of people around the world in his programs and private online communities. He is called the Facilitator of Miracles for his unique ability to channel the shifts in perspective needed in order for his clients to free their minds and remember who they truly are. He channels a Sassani being called ShaKa, who specializes in personal transformation and disseminating universal wisdom. So this is going to be fun. And Brandon, I thank you so much for being here. I'd love to start with your origin story. How did all this show up for you?
Yeah, so there's two main shifts or moments in my life that put me in this trajectory, and I'd say I was living on the East Coast at the time, and I just was transitioning from a business that I was running for 5 years. It was in network marketing, and I had this moment sitting on the couch where I realized what I was doing wasn't truly representative of my excitement, that I was searching for fame, significance, and it was just a moment of getting really honest with myself. And it's like, is this who I am? And I decided to do a 180. And it's like, well, maybe if all of this pursuing and seeking is not representative of who I am, maybe I should do the opposite. And I had this insight in that moment, said, I'm just going to say yes to the things that really represent my excitement moment by moment. And I was always interested in channeling. Bashar is one of my favorite teachers, since I was 21, tuning into his content. And so it was the first time that I said, everything in my head, I want to put into action and go from that journey without distance, right? It's from my head to my heart of like, I'm gonna say yes and embody this. And in the next couple of weeks, I put out a newsletter. And long story short, the newsletter landed in the inbox of a woman moments before she was going to kill herself. And I didn't know who she was. She lived on the other side of the world. She was in Australia. And she was sitting there, had a handful of sleeping pills, and was sitting at the beach in her car and was gonna take the sleeping pills and go into the ocean and go to sleep. And she sat there for a moment, and she's a I'd say a renowned medium in Australia. So her guides came in and said, hey, before you take those pills, turn the radio on. And she turned the radio on, and a song played, and it said word for word, you should stay a little bit longer. And so she stopped in that moment, put the pills down, started crying. I need to stay. I need to face my fear. I need to move through this. And in that next moment, she got my email, and it was titled, I'm excited to die. And it was a catchy way of me saying, yes, when we die, we leave behind all of the worry, guilt, shame, doubt, and pain, but we don't have to die to experience what the other side can be like now. And she responded and said, I want you to coach me. And I go, what's a coach? I didn't consider myself a coach. So I just said, why don't we get on a call and we'll chat? And getting on that call with no expectation, no identity of who do I need to be, what is a coach, and how does the session need to go, I was just open to life. And information would come through, and she had such a profound transformation. I had such a profound transformation. And when she would come back into alignment, all of her abilities would come back online. So all of a sudden she'd be looking around me going, oh, wow, you have this guide and this relative, boom, boom. And so she started teaching me more along the lines of mediumship. And I started having a lot of mediumship experiences then with my clients as I started to grow and learn this transformational facilitator stuff. And so it was always there. And working with her for the next 6 months, I started, tuning in more metaphysically or above the physical realm. And it all came to a point when I met Daryl Anka, who's the channel for Bashar, in person for a session. And I asked him, why do I feel so drawn to this metaphysical world and channeling and all of these channeled texts? And he goes, well, you have a counterpart in our civilization that is essentially your future self. And I said, oh, wow, well, would he be open to me channeling him? And he goes, yes, he would be very excited for that if you're excited. And I said, okay. And I completely lit up. And this was maybe 2 years later after just, stepping into this facilitator role and starting to do more trauma-informed work and really just going in a different direction. So I ended up hiring a channeling coach after that session, named Tyler, who channels Ryok, another Sassani being. And over the next 4 months, he taught me how to shift my brain state into gamma through breathing and concentration and relaxation, and how to dial the phone number, so to say, of ShaKa. And then it was like this series of initiations. I had a near-death experience where I was taking this supplement. It's called colloidal cobalt. I don't recommend taking it. And it turned my thyroid hormones all the way up. I was just pumping. I basically had hyperthyroidism because of the supplement. I didn't even know it. Cortisol, adrenaline, and I just couldn't sleep. And I was stressed all of the time. And I would sleep for about 30 minutes a night. And about a week and a half into the most intense sleep deprivation of my life, I woke up and had a full seizure. And there was a moment in that can't breathe, stiffness, where I had this thought, okay, if I die, can I control it? No. Because that's really what I was facing in a really real way. I couldn't breathe or move, and I thought I was dying. I had this thought, if I die, can I control it? No. If I don't die, can I control that? No. Okay, so what am I fighting against? And right in that moment, I started to just soften. And then I had the thought, am I afraid of what's happening? Or am I afraid of a future that doesn't exist? Am I afraid of my own mind? And in that moment, another wave of relaxation came in. I was like, all that's happening without a story as I'm shaking and breathing quickly. I'm actually not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of what is right now. So there was this lesson in surrendering my mind, surrendering, believing my thinking about a future. And in that moment, coming back into the moment, having this release, all of a sudden, this image appeared in my mind of the colloidal cobalt. It was like God was like, oh, here you go. There it is. And I instantly knew what was happening. Oh, your hormones, this is like, I just was told. I stopped using it. I rebalanced my hormones. The week after that, I've all of the training that I was, doing to channel ShaKa and not really having a clear channel. The week after that, he came through clear and powerful. And I said, okay, I'm ready. And so through a series of events, throughout time, it's kind of led to where I am now.
Wow, powerful. I love how you shared your experience inside the near-death experience.
Mm,
I've never really heard anyone share how your thoughts actually shifted everything, and what an ultimate surrender
mm,
experience that when you do that, you actually then can live.
mhm, mhm.
Um, Fascinating. So thank you for sharing all of that. That's so, like, it just really also points out how whatever we do in life, the universe gives us all of the pieces of the puzzle, and it's how we
Exactly.
react and use them. But just the way you were guided from one thing to the next so beautifully, to have you be sitting where you are right now doing what you do today and helping so many people.
Mm.
Yeah. So I guess the next thing that we get to do is,
Mhm.
you've told us a little bit about ShaKa. Is there anything else that you would want to have us know about him or your channeling before we jump into an actual channeling?
Yeah, I'll just give a brief description. Um, about, let's see, maybe 4 years ago now, I was napping. And right before I crossed the threshold into sleep, I received a symbol. You might be able to see it on my, there
Mhm.
it is. And it was the first time I felt like I really received something that was so clearly not from my personal mind. It was like impersonal. It was boom. Where'd that come from? I don't know. But it completely, literally jarred me awake. I was in the back of the car, nodding off, and I go like this. And I go, wow, okay, this seems important. My whole body's lit up. I go inside, I draw the symbol. And after that, I wrote uh, an outline for the first online course that I ever put out. Now, I didn't know at the time, but that is actually one of ShaKa's specialties. Bashar called it um, um, cosmic circuitry. And he says that in our reality, we can might just translate it as a two-dimensional symbol, but in their reality, it's geometry, sound, music, light, vibration. It's a whole multi-dimensional, multi-sensory experience that ShaKa forms with his consciousness, with his energy, and can kind of imbue onto people or other beings to help them remember more of who they are or access information. And so there's been a lot of symbols like that I've received now over the years. Um, so that's one of his main jobs. The Sassani, just brief little history, is they are they represent the third hybrid race from gray to human. So we've, I think this audience has heard of the grays or the zetas, right? They are going through a hybridization process to rebalance their energy. Not all, I mean, there's all these different factions and whatnot that I'm told about, but at least one of them is going through this rebalancing, reharmonizing process. And the Sassani represent half gray and half human. And being the third iteration, the third hybrid race, they also represent perfect balance between masculine, feminine, human, gray. And the benefit of the grays going down a really negative path, but then coming back into our reality to transform kind of their karma, their trajectory, is that they can find they've come back to a time before we've hit the point of no return, and because of that, we now get the Sassani guidance, mentorship, wisdom, which is what they didn't have. And there's a lot more than just the Sassani. So one way that the Greys are able to give back and support humanity for our own, for us supporting them in their hybrid agenda and helping them rebalance and whatnot, is through the Sassani becoming a type of mentor, guiding energy of Earth. And they're guided by Sirius. Sirius is their kind of direct mentor. So you have this, fourth, going from third to fourth density Earth, and then you have going from fourth density to fifth density Sassani, and you have a fifth density going to sixth density Sirius, and it's just this whole line of support and helping each other up the ladder. And so yeah, that's what I'll say for now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for unpacking that too. It's really interesting. Okay, I will let you do what you need to do, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will see you on the other side. All right, and we extend our greatest love, joy, and appreciation for the co-creation. We will begin this transmission with the following title: Accelerating through 2022 towards the year of crystallization. The idea is that this year for you represents a type of stabilizing energy, a type of reorienting yourself, which often comes with the idea of becoming disoriented, which is akin to walking along, and every time that you walk on one foot, being slightly out of balance, but being the necessary step required to then achieve balance again in a new and more grounded, so to say, direction. There are 3 steps we wish to share with you that will support you in this year to come in stabilizing, because again, the following year of your 2023, representing a 7, represents a 7-year cycle that you are all going through and the beginning of a new one. And so this year is really about choosing what direction you wish to crystallize yourself in. But again, you have a little leeway this year, a little practice time, and we wish to give you some tools that will allow you to coast more smoothly in the direction you prefer. Number 1, the ability to recognize. The idea is that as you go throughout your day and you observe your reality, and you observe your collective reality as well, which many of you are focused on at the moment, is to recognize that whatever you observe in the reality is an aspect of yourself that you are projecting into the reality, so the reality can serve you by illuminating an aspect of yourself you may not be aware of. This is the only function of reality. It cannot be unfair. It cannot be difficult. It cannot put you in a position where you are in between a rock and a hard place. In other words, there is no such thing as a difficult circumstance or situation, only a difficult belief system. So the idea is to recognize that it is not up to you, nor does it make much sense to attempt to go out there and change your world, because your world is a reflection of your most dominant belief system. So trying to change the world would be like walking up to a projection on one of your projector screens and attempting to move certain holographic objects and feeling frustrated because the more and more you attempt to change the image, the more powerless you feel. And so the idea is to recognize that is not your job. Your job is to go to the projector and go, why am I perceiving my reality in a way that is creating for me negativity, stress, or resistance? That is the first step of recognizing the function of reality and what direction to turn into when the appearance of stress, negativity, fear, anxiety arises. Step 2 is to reconcile. The idea is to discover, trace yourself back, lure out the negative belief in your unconscious mind, and begin to question its validity. Is this a fundamental fact of reality, of existence itself? Or is this just a belief I've picked up along the way that really has nothing to do with me, that may be thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, that I've just really been spoon-fed? and have that self-honest conversation, which means you must allow for all components of the belief to be accepted, to be acknowledged. That implies the emotion, the sensation in your body, to know that it is just a sensation, that you are safe, that your life isn't threatened, and the corresponding actions, that you may have acted in a way that may have seemed a bit out of alignment. All right, well, remember, you have the ability to choose again, and your new choice is now being informed by choices that no longer serve you. So they're really one and the same. And so the idea is to acknowledge and bring into the light all components of the belief system with a type of innocence, with a type of neutrality that will allow you to see the belief for what it is, not an enemy, not something wrong, not something bad, simply a misperceived idea that is not fully representative of your true core natural self. You can even allow yourself to travel back in time to moments where you have reacted from the place of a negative belief system, a negative emotion, from resistance, and replay the scenario in your mind without that belief system, to ask the question plainly: if I didn't believe that thought, that belief in that moment, and therefore didn't have the corresponding emotion, and therefore wouldn't have the corresponding action, what would be a different version of that reality that would be more aligned with me? And use this as a type of practice to then inform the third and final step, which is respond. Respond implies action. It doesn't simply imply positive thinking and sending good energy in certain areas on your planet, which is perfectly valid, but you are in a type of tunnel right now where your action is actually doing the crystallizing in your reality more so than just the energy alone. Because again, part of your integration process is embracing the physicalness of physical reality, and that's actually one of the most spiritual things you can do. And so again, the idea is to respond with action, coming out of your practice, coming out of your inquiry with a new choice, and doing your best now to respond to the same circumstance with a new action, because that is the measure of change. Not when your reality changes, but when you change in the face of a reality that has yet to change. Why should your reality change, it being nothing but a mirror, if you're not willing to change first? In fact, it is impossible. It is like waiting for your reflection to change, which will only create more separation, more stress, more suffering. And so through these 3 steps, if you can allow yourself to focus more strongly on the ability to recognize moments where you feel out of alignment, reconcile the belief system by seeing that it's not true, by seeing it doesn't really make sense, by seeing it doesn't really contain any logic. It's based on a foundation of lies and illusions. And as long as you bring it to the light, that will be very clear for you. And that does require the power of acknowledgement, of innocence, of acceptance. And finally, learning and experiencing who you truly are on the other side of that belief, which would only be possible by taking on the negative beliefs themselves. So again, not making them the enemy, but simply a necessary stepping stone that is then allowing you to respond in a new way to your reality, thus inevitably creating a new reflection in your reality eventually. Remember, there is a type of time-space delay, but choosing to respond to your reality in a positive way no matter what makes the idea of the delay not a big deal. Because even if there is a delay, you can simply use that to reinforce your new installed positive belief and action, and you will feel good about that because you will be being your true self, and that is what you truly want, more so than your reality changing. As you practice this, as this simply becomes a way of life, you will practice a crystallization in a certain direction that in the coming year will allow for a bit less, for some of you, of the training wheels of this process. So you can take the training wheels off and really start to experience the depth and the direction of this crystallized path that you are choosing, that will really start manifesting new collective shifts, maybe subtle at first, but new collective shifts in your reality as each of you embrace this process one by one by one by one. We thank you for the allowance of this transmission, and at this timing, please share any questions, dialogues, or queries if you wish.
Thank you so much, ShaKa, for this wonderful information. And so I have
Yes,
a
you're welcome.
question. Thank you. I have a question about, we're experiencing a lot of political and social unrest across the world right now.
Yes.
And what would be the appropriate response for those who want a different world, who desire not to have political unrest, but would like to see a change happen?
All right. Well, you can begin by changing the definition of political unrest to simply recognizing that certain systems and ways of creating your government are becoming to be clearly outdated. And so it is actually a positive expression, even though you are unveiling more negativity. That is a symptom of your expansion. So rather than pushing against it or wishing it to change, rather embrace the process, discover and allow yourself to become aware of the darkness that may be revealing itself, and take it to the process that we are referring to, where you can identify where that darkness may live within yourself, reconcile that darkness, respond to it in a passionate and compassionate way, and then be the example of the type of government system that you wish to see on your planet, if that's your excitement. If it's not, whatever is your highest excitement will be what you need to do to help your planet make the shift into a more positive direction.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So another question, Brandon told us about the gray race who kind of went
Yes.
down a dark path, and now there's been a balancing of that. Can you share what is it that humans could be aware of or even avoid in order to have us not go down that dark path?
All right. Well, one of the symptoms, or we should say the potentialities that are manifesting in your reality that represent that path, is the idea of using technology in a way that creates imbalance with your relationship to nature versus enhances the balance of your relationship to nature. And so the idea is different technological advances, if you can perceive, they harm the environment, they harm the human body, but the reason for their expression is to gain power, to spread influence, or any of these beliefs that are based in a type of service to self at the expense of others type of paradigm, then you will recognize that that path can only lead to more destruction, more self-degradation, and in a sense represents the idea that it is up to us to put reality in order versus revealing to ourselves the natural order in existence, in nature. And so this is one potential on your planet that you are still deciding if you will go down the path of a slightly more disconnected experience of nature. One moment, we will see if there's any other information on this subject. All right. The type of fear that is generated around extraterrestrials can create in your media, in your news media, on your movies, on your televisions, can create a type of aversion that, if it's not addressed, will create the idea of more isolation, will create the idea of really suppressing the parts of yourself that are alien to yourself, because we represent those parts. So pushing us away is really like pushing an aspect of yourself away that you're not willing to look at. And therefore, certain coping mechanisms, addictions, different expressions of imbalance will continue to be perpetuated in your society. So the path of transformation, the path of integration, really must include a type of forgiveness collectively of yourselves, of your past, and a type of collective, you could say, spiritual transformation. And then many of the different paths that are presenting themselves that represent imbalance simply won't make sense to you anymore.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, so from our personal human perspective, a lot of us get stuck in, like you just mentioned, negative patterns, addictions, things like that. What can we do to help balance that? Or first of all, what keeps people locked into that, and how can we break those patterns?
All right. The idea is when you choose a negative pattern, an addiction, a coping mechanism, or what have you, you are choosing it because you believe you are getting something out of it. As long as you sustain the positive belief connected to the negative belief, you will justify the act as something positive, even if intellectually you can see that it's negative. For example, many of you will use different substances or chemical substances to alter your state of being to avoid the idea of negativity. And in some way, because you are successfully shifting out of negativity temporarily, it works for you. It creates the idea of what seems to be a positive shift. So as long as you believe that's the only way that you can shift your state of being, and that there is something to fear about negativity, something that is threatening to you, then you will continue to use the crutch, the teacher, until you realize it actually doesn't serve you. Because once the teacher becomes a crutch and you start to depend on it, you can't make any more progress, and you will still feel absolutely trapped, which is the same feeling many of you are avoiding by pushing away negativity or discomfort. So you could see it puts you in a self-perpetuating loop, but allows you to have some temporary comfort here and there. So the idea is to divest yourself of being interested in temporary comfort whatsoever, and becoming more interested in lasting peace and expansion. That, coupled with truly understanding what negativity is, what fear, anxiety actually are, all they are is the same energy of passion, the same energy of excitement that is consistently being sent to you by your higher mind, translated through a negative belief system that is like a messenger on your door saying, hey, 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 slow down. You are believing in something that's not true. There is a belief here you are not aware of. There is no threat to you. There is nothing scary here. But if you continue to run away, I will get louder. I will huff and puff and blow your house down to get your attention, because I am here to liberate you from the idea of yourself, of your negative belief system. So when you really understand what negativity is, simply a doorway back into yourself, and that it can't threaten who and what you are, you will be more willing to allow yourself to bring more light to the dark.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From your perspective, what does humanity's potential look like, and how are we doing in this ascension process?
Yes, all right. The idea is that you are headed in a direction, which one piece of evidence that you are doing well is that we are speaking to you at this time, because there are versions of Earth where we are not. And so the idea is that you are headed in a direction of more integration, of more inclusion, of the understanding that what is best for one is best for all, so to say. And that as you allow certain individuals on your planet to have their basic needs met, to educate them in a certain way that allows for their inspiration and passion to lead their life, that there will be an automatic passion, an automatic harmony, an automatic synchrony in your reality that is of the benefit of all life and all people. And so it's truly a transition point into the idea of a more united, a more collective based in love type of reality, And the potential can be one where you are interplanetary, where you have joined and integrated with different extraterrestrial races that have been supporting you for eons. And so you do have the opportunity by your 2050 to join the Interstellar Alliance and become part of the galactic family that comprises over 150 worlds that are all working together for the upliftment of humanity, the upliftment of the multiverse in that sense. And you do have the opportunity to join in and accelerate the idea of the hybridization agenda, where you can actually start blending with different hybrid races to jumpstart your evolution, so to say, and become a more expanded, integrated community member amongst your neighbors in the stars, and truly begin your education of reality, of the multiverse, and of yourself. This is all not just possible, but very probable, and the beginnings of which you will start to see very clearly in your 2050.
Very helpful. Thank you. So I'm going to bring it back now to the more mundane, but for
Oh,
those
all right, the mundane.
for those of us
Is
who
that different from a Great Dane?
not so much.
All right.
For those of us who are desiring to be more capable of our manifestations or intentional in our manifesting and co-creation, do you have advice or some tips that could help us align with what we desire to create?
All right. Well, the idea is a bit of a paradox. The moment that you desire your reality to be as it is now and act from a place of pure inspiration, which truly has no agenda, no need for things to unfold in a certain way, then bringing that desire into your reality now as a desire to be what you are being and act how you are acting and feel how you are feeling will actually align you with a future, so to say, that represents your desires more strongly, because your future, what future you attract, is taking its cue from the energy that you are anchoring through your action and energy now. And so it's not necessarily about saying, how do I manifest the future I want? It's about saying, am I allowing myself to want what is now and act in a way that is in alignment with that energy?
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
So let's just go to for a final question. Is there something that that you would like to share with us that maybe I haven't asked, something for the collective that could be helpful?
All right. We have a message. It's a bit generic. Look out for the angels. They're coming. One moment. Look to the skies. Look to the natural phenomenon, because they are a lot more supernatural than you may believe. And have more fun. Remember, you are at your core indestructible, infinite, and eternal. You are playing the game of physical reality for the education and expansion of your soul. There is no way to get it wrong, and there is nowhere you need to be. Be here now. Have more fun. Lighten up. You all go home eventually.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ShaKa. I appreciate your presence and your sharing.
And we appreciate yours as well. We send you our unconditional love and joy and appreciation. And we bid you all a good day and happy dreams. was it?
Wonderful.
Cool.
Wonderful. It was powerful. That energy is, I mean, I'm sure I don't have to tell you. It's very powerful.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's funny because I get so relaxed. You know, when I come out, I'm like coming up from a nap. So
Hmm.
it's like a lot of high energy, but it relaxes me. It's interesting.
Really interesting.
Mhm,
Yeah, it's
mhm.
fascinating. Thank you for sharing ShaKa with
Yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll close out there, but I want to make sure we get to tell everybody about your free gifts. You're offering two free gifts. One of
Hmm.
them is a ShaKa channeling. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Do you have the title? I think I remember it, but do you
It's
have the?
Brandon Bozarth channels ShaKa live on conscious
Oh yes,
vitality.
the mountaintop. Okay, that's the one. Yeah. So this one's called the mountaintop, or seen from the mountaintop, and it's about the two ways, in a sense, to come back into the knowing that we are infinite and indestructible and eternal, which any it's like any time that I know that, and knowing implies that I'm acting that way, I am seeing my life and reality and myself from the mountaintop. And then he describes how being amongst the trees in a forest around a fire can seem like you're trapped and stuck and there's no way out. But in reality, that's not you down there. You are the one on the mountaintop watching it happen, perfectly peaceful and calm. And it teaches you how to kind of bridge those worlds in the midst of the fires in your life. So it's a really powerful transmission. The other gift is Module 1 from our course Miracle Makers, which teaches the process of self-inquiry. So inquiry is what I've been teaching and sharing and practicing for the last maybe 6 years, and it's where I started in the coaching world, and so it's what I have the most experience with. It's what I take my clients through, and it's really a way of meeting any level of suffering and going through a process of self-reflection, of embracing our emotions, and coming back to ourselves, in a sense, going from feeling like a separate, isolated person in the world to a connected, loving, open person in the world. And what I love about inquiry and the way that we teach it is it's so simple. We have kids that could do it, and it can go as deep as you really want it to go. And I'd say it's probably one of the number one skills, or really ways of understanding, that can really make a coach effective at what they do. So if that's what you do, if that's who you are, this is like going in with a scalpel and like very precisely, performing this spiritual surgery that can really lead someone, or allow someone to lead themselves, to freedom and openness. And it's a really powerful training. So you get module 1 of that course.
Wonderful. Thank you. I will be sure to include those links in the show notes on your speaker page so everyone can get the free gifts and really unpack more of what you have to offer, Brandon. Thank you so much for all that you've shared today, for your generosity and this amazing transmission from ShaKa. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. The channeling was really energized. I think sometimes it's very multidimensional. Like, all of the audience was there with me in a different time and space. And usually, when there's a really big or excited audience, it comes through more powerfully, as if they're pulling it through like a current. And so I really felt that, and that's always fun for me. So, yeah, thank you again for having me. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, wonderful. For everyone watching or listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to grab Brandon's free gifts. Have a wonderful day or evening. Namaste.